Hi everyone. Quite a few people ask me about emotions, and can you give a little bit of an explanation on the emotions? Well, in my understanding, emotions actually are what fueling our thoughts. So there is a direct link from the emotions to the thoughts. Now, I think it's also fair for us to say that when we have an emotion present, particularly a lower emotion that isn't necessarily serving us, not to completely push it aside and pretend that it doesn't exist, because that, in my understanding, only fuels that lower emotion more. What we've got to recognize here is that when there is an emotion present, particularly a lower emotion, not to suppress it, to actually look at where is this lower emotion actually coming from? What is the root cause of this lower emotion? Some people will say, embrace that lower emotion. But in actual fact, we also need to recognize while living in duality, which as consciousness we now states, we are actually living within a duality experience. Duality actually means that we are living in a consciousness of separation. So that yin and yang is not actually fully unified. And we are perceiving the duality of separation. In my understanding, what we need to recognize as a human race is that the non-duality is actually always running. It's there, but we aren't fully aligned to that within consciousness for most of us. Non-duality means there is no separation, and we do have a unification within the yin and the yang. So when we look at lower emotions, we also need to recognize that we as individuals need to recognize that, yes, this lower emotion is there. I don't necessarily want to suppress it because that is also a form of suppression and separation of self. But I do want to acknowledge that this necessarily is not who I am. So not suppressing it, but also acknowledging that this possibly is not who I am and what I want to experience. So let's say, for example, if someone is experiencing anxiety, I think it's fair to say that anyone who has experienced anxiety, they know within themselves, this is not me, this is not my true nature, but also being aware that that anxiety is there for them. So this is where, for me, in my understanding, within ITA energy medicine and Maha meditation, we're very aware of looking at the energy links. So when we're looking, the reason for that is because the energy body is actually fueling the physical body. So there is a direct link from the energy systems to the physical, and then the mind itself is connecting to that physical and energetic link. So when we look at this through the emotions, I feel it's very fair for us to then say, well, what is a lower emotion actually linked to? So when you look at something like anxiety, has a direct link to grief and sadness. And how is the mind recognizing these links, and where is it actually stored? So let's go back for a moment. We noted that the energy body is actually fueling the physical body. So we could go to areas of the physical body, but remembering it's the energy body that's fueling that physical. So if we find the links within the energy body that has a direct link to grief, anxiety, sadness, for example, the mind will then recognize we have movement, we have a positive intention being placed within the energy systems that will then have an impact to the physical, and then the mind will accept it. What does that mean by having an impact to the physical? What that means is that when you balance the offset within the energy systems, and you know the links within the energy systems or the energy anatomy, the physical will then reflect that balance. So the physical symptoms, for example, will start to balance. They'll start to be integrated within that individual. I'll just show you quickly here. This is one page that's been taken out of our ITA Energy Medicine Manual. And you'll see, for example, here that the grief, anxiety, and sadness has direct links to the chakras, which is our energy systems, our navel and our heart chakra, and also the meridian pathways, which are the circulatory system of the energy systems. That will also then affect the element, which is the metal element within that individual, which will then also offset their natural balance within themselves. You'll also see here that if it's offset for a period of time, you will then start to see these examples within the physical body as symptoms. So things like a stagnation of lung qi, depression, allergies, emphysema, skin disorders, and the list goes through here. So, reduced immunity in colds and flus, etc. What we'll also note is that these physical organs will also carry a pull. So these direct links are very important to recognize, because otherwise this grief, anxiety and sadness will be in a spiral within itself, and it'll be very difficult for the individual to actually find that natural balance. What we're trying to fuel here is that when you can balance these links, that the person will then start to feel more happiness within their lives and within themselves. So in understanding of the emotions, in my understanding, I have been working in clinic now for 36 years. And in working in my own practice and my clinic practice with ITA energy medicine, I've been able to recognize that with all of my clients that were coming through, there was repetitive patterns that I kept seeing. So, for example, if somebody did have anxiety, all of a sudden I recognize, my gosh, they did have actually pulls to their lungs. They did actually have imbalances to the lung and large intestine meridian, etc. And there was pulls to the chakras of the navel and the heart, and they were carrying certain physical symptoms. And in noting these, I started to document them because I was seeing repetitive patterns. And those documentations are now the manuals that we're utilizing within MRIAC, particularly within ITA energy medicine courses. We know that this works because of so many hundreds and hundreds of people that can definitely testify that they have been pulled by lower emotions, and they're no longer being pulled by their lower emotions. And where there has been physical imbalances, for example, they've also seen an alignment to that. And in stating that, even Mahat meditation is now being researched here by a very predominant university, because it has been noted that so many of the Mahat students who practice Mahat meditation can clearly confirm that I used to be pulled by my lower emotions, and I'm just not pulled by them now. And if I am pulled by them, I can bring them into a set of alignment within myself, or I have an understanding or a clarity of why they're there. And it's the same with clients who have actually experienced, or students who studied ITA energy medicine purely for self-development. When you understand the links of how the energy body is actually interplaying with the physical body, and then how the mind is connecting to that connection to the physical and the energetic, it really does give us a greater understanding into, one, how to keep the body balanced and aligned, how to keep the emotions balanced and aligned, and how to also keep the physical body in its balance and alignment. And I really do believe, everybody, that the emotions are definitely what is fueling your thoughts. So a lot of us will say we don't really have a level of control of the thoughts. Well, actually we do. We have to get a control or an understanding of the lower emotions if they aren't serving us, how to balance and align those. And the key, the pathway to that, is understanding energy anatomy. So I really do hope I've been able to give you something here in this discussion. Now, for those of you who don't necessarily want to study energy anatomy, I have actually put together a series of very short 8-9 minute guided meditations that will actually explain and take you through the meditation practice and also balance all the links. So, for example, if you do experience anxiety, that meditation will take you through to the organs, to be aware of the organs, to bring the light energy to those organs, and it'll guide you through in balancing all the links that are fueling the imbalance of anxiety. I really hope I've been able to give you something on this discussion of the understanding of the emotions. Much love, everybody. Take care.